Hey guys, today I'm going to teach you how to change transmission fluid on a 3000 series Allison transmission. So the vehicle that I'm working on is a 2001 American Coach. It is a Spartan chassis, has a Cummins 330 engine with a 6-speed Allison, and again the transmission is a I think it's an MH 3000. I actually have the book here in front of me. It is, or 3000 MH, 3000 MH and 4000 MH owner's manual, or owner's manual. Okay, so we're gonna go as usual with the book information first, and then I'll take you to the car and show you how to do it. We're gonna change both the filters and the fluid with this particular video. First thing would be the maintenance intervals. And this is actually, looks like when the vehicle's new, they want the first filter change to be done at 5,000 miles. Don't know if that was ever done. My Coach has 44,000 on it right now. The recommended fluid and filter change for non-transcend fluids. This is our recommended fluid for this. It's a synthetic fluid. We'll talk about that in a second. It is actually 25,000 miles for the fluid, and same way for both filters. And then they're giving you a month's too. I'm not so sure that you would need to follow the 12-month thing, but I don't know, that's debatable. For the transcend fluid, they're recommending 100,000 miles for the fluid, 50,000 for the filters, and they're giving you a longer time frame, 48 months for the fluid, 24 months for the filters. Again, the time there is debatable. But for me, having a 15 or almost 16-year-old RV and with 44,000 miles, I don't know when or if this has ever been done. Then we have one more chart, which they're calling a modified fluid, and that would be a mixture of the transcend, the recommended fluid by Allison, and non-transcend fluid. So, you know, maybe it was serviced somewhere in the past and they used a different type of fluid, and they're giving you a 50,000 mile interval, 25 on the main filter, 50 on the lube filter, and again they're giving you months too. So for me, not knowing history of this vehicle, it needs to be done. All right, with a lot of difficulty, I was able to locate filters for this. Nowhere in this book did they give me a filter number. I had to go by the serial number on the side just to figure out which transmission I had, and it is definitely a 3000 MH transmission. There's my build date or serial number that I listed here, because that's what they're talking about in here. These are serial number listings, and that's just basically telling you what type of setup you have. In this picture up here kind of shows it. We have our 4000 series here, our 3000 here. This is me, and you see there's two filters inside. It looks like they're the same filter, and there was a discrepancy here too on the type of sump that this has. So on the 3000 series transmission, there's either a 2-inch or 4-inch sump. That's basically the drain pan itself. And the measurements that I did on that, it was actually more closer to 3 inches, maybe 3.5. And just from some forums that I read, I had read a post where someone said if it's a 3.5-inch measurement, then it's your 4-inch sump. So I'm hoping so, because the difference is in these filters. When I researched this, I again couldn't find a filter number on this book anywhere. So I don't remember what brought me to the site. I mentioned it when I did the coolant change. The site that I got this from was rvchassisparts.com, and they just made it very easy for me to pick the stuff that was specific to a Spartan chassis vehicle. That's what this one is. And they had two different filter listings for an Allison transmission, and one was again for a 2-inch and the other was for a 4. The filters I bought were for the 4-inch sump. They're longer, so hopefully when I pull these filters out, they'll match what I have here. It was difficult for sure in locating the proper filters, but I felt comfortable with this because it is a genuine Allison part, and from what I could find, they only made 2 different types, and that was this longer filter that I bought and then the shorter ones. And then also the Transcend fluid that is specifically recommended by Allison is the fluid that I'm using. And yeah, I can't do math apparently, because this holds, according to the book here, let's get you a number on what this thing's going to hold. The capacity initial fill is 26 quarts, and then the refill, that's going to be what I'm going to be doing, which is draining the pan and changing the filters. We're going to hold about 19 quarts of oil. And I think what I did wrong is I'm so used to doing the oil changes using you know, a gallon or more. They actually come in 5 quarts with the way that they package oil, and I guess I was just thinking there was 5 quarts in these containers, not 4. You know, 1 gallon is 4 quarts, and I only bought 4 of them, which really made me mad, because that only gives me 16 quarts, and I'm going to be 3 or 4 short. So I bought a different type of fluid that is also recommended, is one of the approved fluids by Allison, and we'll talk about that in a minute too when I get it. I'm trying to remember the name of the fluid. Well, I'll throw a picture in here. This is a picture I got from Allison Transmission website. The fluid that I bought, I have highlighted here on this page, and this was from Allison Transmission. This is their recommended fluids. You see the Transcend is up there. That's my primary fluid I'm using, and then the final 3 quarts or so is going to be this other type. I'm comfortable with it. I don't think over the life of this coach, if this has ever been done, the chances of this having just Transcend fluid in it are slim to none, and that would be for the rest of you out there too. So it's a good page to go by for sure. We don't want to use the wrong fluid, and you know, with a lot of research I found this. Let's open this package up and make sure that we have these O-rings in here, because that is what it showed when I purchased this. I didn't see them, and I'm definitely going to need them. I'm hoping they're in here. There's a couple of gaskets and O-rings that are absolutely necessary here. Awesome. Could not see that with the box closed up. And the part number for anyone that wants it. It's right here. And again, I could not locate this in the owner's manual. It was just from digging online. And the site I got this from again was rvchassisparts.com. So I'm plugging them again. Hopefully in the future, maybe if they watch this, maybe they'll send me some stuff for free. They definitely didn't. I paid for this. I'm only quoting the site just to help you guys out. So anyway, all right, so a bunch of O-rings. That's cool. And then it comes with a instruction sheet. That's pretty cool. Let's see if this is any different than what we just read in the owner's manual. Yeah, this is just the same information that's inside the in the book. Oh, this is cool. I didn't see this. The measurements. So this was confusing, and I did see this on an RV forum. Is where I got it. Was the measurement of the sump. This is yeah. It was either a 4-inch or a 2-inch sump was my options, and you see the measurement they're showing for the 2-inch. It's 1.75, and for the 4-inch the measurement is 3.75. So I think I measured about 3.5 with mine, and that'll be helpful for some of you out there as far as what filters to buy. I bought the 6-inch filters because my measurement, it was definitely a lot more than 1.75 inches. So this should be my guy. I should have gotten the right parts. All right, let's go underneath. Let's drain this fluid, change these filters, and should be pretty straightforward. Just in case I forget to show you this later, the part numbers that are on these filters, they're exactly the same, so there's no difference in them at all. First thing, guys, while I'm looking at the bottom of this pan, is which one is the drain plug. And I was looking at this one, but then I referred back to the sheet, and it actually tells me. It shows the drain plug right there on the bottom, and it is that guy right there with the 3/8 drive fitting. All right, here goes nothing. Unfortunately, I can't get my 5-gallon bucket under here, so this will be interesting. I have two 2-gallon buckets, and I think I'm gonna make a mess. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna make a mess. Some of this stuff is not easy to do laying on the ground. This is gonna fill up quick. I'm gonna drop this in the bucket too. I don't want to. The fluid's pretty clean. Well, a lot less come out than I thought. Maybe when I pull these filters out, a lot more will come out. I mean, it said 19 quarts, and I filled one 2-gallon bucket and maybe a quarter of this one, so maybe I did buy enough fluid. That'd be sweet. I'd rather use all the Transcend and not the other fluid that I bought, but didn't really have much of a choice. Now for these filter covers. Is that 15 millimeter? Again, the filters are the same, guys, so there's a main and a lube filter, what they call a lube filter. And just want to be cautious about what comes out of here, make sure I get the O-rings right. We'll start with the one furthest away from me. A lot tighter than I expected. One of the things I want to pay attention to, guys, is the length of the bolts and where they came from. So I want to be careful with that too. This being my first time doing one of these. Are they the same length? Yes, they are. And I will tighten these by hand when I'm done. I'll probably run them up with the gun, but yeah, these are all the same length. All right, what I've found with This is a gasket that's holding this in place. A lot of people want to put a chisel in there and pry, and I don't really like to do that. I think what I'll do, I'll put one bolt back in so it doesn't all come flying down at me. Just a couple of threads. And then what you can do is just tap on it. It's usually enough to break the gasket, usually. There it is right there. So we're definitely getting some more fluid out. I'm going to be short of fluid, I believe. Come on, let go. There we go. See how important it was to get the right kit that had the gaskets and everything in it. I absolutely have to change that gasket. Looks like his filter's coming right out with it. Looks like I bought the right filter. That's cool. So that all came out together. Just being cautious of O-rings and all of that stuff. We'll do these one at a time, okay, guys? Just kind of dumping it out, keeping it together. So I know where all my O-rings and everything go. This being my first time doing this one. Now, I'm rethinking that, guys, and the reason why is the camera. These are the exact same filter, so I'm gonna do them both together, keeping, of course, the housings in order. I don't know if the housings are different or not yet, but I'll be careful about which one goes where, but for you guys, you need to see me take this out too. One of the things that I like to do as a mechanic, I don't like to leave things for later. If I can finish something now, that prevents forgetfulness. So I don't need this plug out anymore. Let's tighten it, and I'll probably recheck it again later, just because. Just keeps mistakes from happening. Finish your work. And I'll keep these bolts separate from each other too, just in case the bolt lengths are different. Separate side to side is what I'm referring to. Again, I'm eyeballing these bolts, making sure they're the same length. Was there maybe Loctite on these? Looked like maybe they were. No. Thought maybe I saw some blue on the threads. Same thing, guys. No reason to pry and damage a housing. You just need to tap on it. Okay? This is standard practice. I got one bolt in to keep this from falling out at me. I doubt this has ever been changed. It looks pretty good though, 44,000 miles. You know, they're giving you a month interval. Mileage wise, I probably could have left this in there. But man, the fluid's probably been in there for 16 years, so I think it's time to change it. I'm no chemist. I don't understand how a transmission fluid can deteriorate just sitting there, because they were giving you time intervals. So one of you guys can chime in and read your comments. Would be much appreciated as to why. I guess I can see with cooling systems and you know, just due to rust and things like that. But this is an oil. I don't know. Again, I'm not a chemist, so. All right, what I'm gonna do here is keep this one over here away from the other one, so I don't mix them up. Okay. Gave us a bunch of gaskets, so could be for different units. All right, you see what comes in the kit. We got our cover gaskets. That's cool, and we got a bunch of different types of O-rings. I doubt we'll use them all. This is probably for multiple applications, but it looked like on the diagram. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, we have a few. We'll see these here in a second. So there's your cover gasket, and then you have two more O-rings inside, it looks like. Okay, so let's see. We're gonna get fluid probably everywhere, but pretty tight fit, just pulls right off. So there's an O-ring as part of the filter right here. Alright, I see one of them. One of them is right here around the base of this, and then there's another one right here, a big fat one right there. So there's two O-rings there. And then this gasket. That'll be fun to take and clean off. Here's your lower O-ring. And then this one in around the inside lip of this. Okay. Pretty straightforward. I need to clean this gasket off. Definitely want to be careful. This is an aluminum housing, so I don't want to use anything real abrasive. Hopefully I can get a lot of this off. It's peeling off actually, not too bad. careful we don't want to gouge this housing. It's important that this stays flat, because it's a flat type gasket, and I don't want to use any kind of RTV or anything for this kind of gasket. I mean, you could maybe use some brush tack or something like that if you wanted to hold the gasket in place, but I don't really feel the need to do that. Could have used something to hold the gasket in place when we did that seal on that power steering pump. That's embarrassing. Rookie mistake that was. What had happened is, you know, where I separated the line, I did loosen the line in anticipation of unscrewing that to get it back together, but the problem was I loosened the wrong part. So while I had that line off of the vehicle and just attached to that housing, I couldn't take it off at that point. And I could have bolted everything back up and then loosened the proper side of the line, but, well, you live and learn. Hopefully you guys won't make that same mistake if you're ever rebuilding one of those V20 pumps, or resealing it, I should say. Definitely want to make sure we get this thing nice and clean. All remnants of gasket have to be taken off. And we got the best stuff ever. Brake clean. Love it. Any other gaskets in here? Nope, just those two. Okay. Just make sure. Don't want this leaking, that's for sure. As far as which side goes down and up on this, doesn't matter. And I definitely do not need any kind of anything to hold this in place. The reason why, I can see all the way around it and I can easily tell if I'm misaligned. So I'm not using anything for it. Alright. What we will do though is we will lubricate these O-rings. We'll put them back on. And my old fluid is clean enough. I'm comfortable using it. Let's match this up. Let's make sure that's the right diameter. Yeah, it looks good. That's my lower O-ring. And then the upper O-ring in this kit. In the kit they gave me some square cut seals. I'm not going to be using those. And then one O-ring. I'm not sure what that's for. Maybe the drain plug? Drain plug didn't have an O-ring on it though. It had like a gasket or a seal. More like a, a washer. Yeah, don't want any debris getting on that. Doesn't help that I set that on top of a crappy rag. I think cleanliness when it comes to transmissions, guys. Alright, there's my 2 O-rings. Now the filter. The filter already has that inside O-ring there. We want to lubricate that too. That'll help me get it back on to this area. It seals around right there. Let's get a little bit more on there. That's one. I'll set this back underneath the RV in where it goes, and we'll do the other one. Same thing, guys. This is very, very straightforward. This is a Wix filter. Looks like maybe somebody did change this before. Yeah, I wouldn't think that this would come with a Wix filter. It says WIX. The number on it is 557740XE. So let me say that again for anybody else looking for these filters. This is made by Wix, WIX 557740XE. Made in Canada. There's another number on here. It is G3635. Okay. The filter that I'm putting in was actually from Allison, and it says on this one 29545780, and again that was an Allison number. So hopefully that helps you guys locate these. Alright, 2 O-rings and a gasket. You guys wondering what I'm using? I bought this, man, 20 some years ago. That's off of Cornwell. Just a scraper. Sharpen the edge a little bit with a file. I have oil on my hands in case the camera's not showing that. Sorry, I'm a little bit far away for this last part. This O-ring, it's a little bit tight, so I'm just lubricant is definitely key, and I'm just kind of rolling it into place, and that did not work. So you can either maybe roll it or hold the 2 sides and pull on it. Okay. And again, the filter, we want to lubricate this. And the housing, push it on. That's it. All right, let's put this back together. We got 3 extra seals in this kit. There's two square cut seals that I did not use, and then 1 small O-ring that I did not use. Could be for maybe the 4000 series, I don't know, but I don't need it. So going back underneath the car. the car. Yeah, this is not a car. Okay, another important piece, which in my application is not critical because the gasket came off in one piece, but you want to make sure that the surface area here is also gasket free. So there's a little tiny piece right there, right there. Kind of makes me feel good that this had a Wix filter in it. That means that at least some point in time someone changed the filter, which is awesome because the maintenance interval did say to do it at 5,000 miles. So someone was on top of it. And then the install, guys, I have everything's together like you saw. I have the gasket already on the housing, and we'll keep our eye on that as we put it in. The O-rings are lubricated. Get my direction correct. Alright, that's it. And it said too, when you do this, to not draw it in with the bolts. It's really that bottom O-ring that's going to seat. The reason you wouldn't want to do that is same thing I did with the power steering pump seal. If you draw it in with the bolts, I had to in that application because of that spring, but here I felt the O-ring seat in place, and if I would say draw it in with a bolt, it's kind of crooked, and then you draw the other side, what you end up doing is potentially cutting that seal, and obviously you're gonna have a leak if that happens, so we don't want to do that. I'll get you guys a torque spec here in a minute. I don't have an inch-pound torque wrench. I have a foot-pound torque wrench. The minimum is 50 foot-pounds, and I don't trust it, to be honest with you. This is going to be done by hand. I would absolutely, if you guys are new to doing this, because rookies tend to over-tighten things, I would absolutely recommend that you use a torque wrench. And I'll get you that spec in a minute. And I am going to use my gun, but I'm going to be very, very gentle. And I'm going to go, how many are we have? 6 bolts, so I'll just kind of go back and forth just to draw this in even. It's just a little 3/8 battery operated gun. Let's get that spec for you guys. Install 6 bolts into each cover and tighten to 38 to 45 foot-pounds. Yeah, the caution on here, do not use the bolts to drop filter covers to the sump. This can damage the covers, seals, or sump. Do not use an impact wrench to tighten these bolts, or strip threads and extensive or expensive parts replacement may result. Use a torque wrench. Use a torque wrench. And again, my little battery operated guy, This thing has a total of about 100 foot-pounds that it'll tighten, but that's if you really get into it, and I definitely didn't do that. So we'll tighten these the rest of the way by hand. They are still very loose, so no problem there at all. I definitely don't want to over tighten these, and I'll be honest with you guys, even myself, I would love to have a torque wrench right here. I don't have, what is it, what did I say, 38 to, I want to be careful, 38 to 45 foot-pounds. That's not a lot. Click, 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 click. Yeah, imagine if you strip one of these, man. That bolt goes all the way up inside the transmission. You'd not be a happy camper. You'd have to drop this whole pan, and then you'd have to drill and helicoil. Yeah, that would not be fun. I do not want to over tighten these. Absolutely, guys. Torque wrench. I'm comfortable with what I just did. I've been doing this for a long, long time. Alright, same thing for this side. Want to make sure we wipe the housing. Look for any pieces of old gasket. There's one piece right here. You guys aren't going to see this on the camera, but there's a couple little chunks. Notice for all of these bolts, I'm starting them all by hand. Okay. And again, my gun that I'm using very lightly. My recommendation is to do it by hand if you're not experienced with these kinds of tools. I did seat this by hand. Alright, the rest of the way it's going to be by hand, just so I can get a feel for it. Now some of you might be looking at these bolts and say, ah, those are big fat bolts. You can tighten them a lot more than that, but you got to remember, this is an aluminum housing, and we need to be really careful that we don't over tighten these. Alright, one last go around for all of them. Let me set my torque wrench here, turn my wrist for my click elbow. Click, click, click. All right. One last piece, guys. What is that? You remember? Drain plug. Did I tighten it all the way? Let's check it. Yes, I did. The other thing I like to do, I used to do this in the field all the time, anytime I'm finished with a job. And this was important when you did like front end work. Let's say you had tires off and brakes off and you were doing struts and maybe some tie rods and the whole car's apart. How do you keep from having loose bolts? When you're finished, you touch everything. You know, in my mind, I'm just saying to myself, tight, 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 right? As I'm touching, I did that, it's done, done, done. And when I would do that on a car, I would hang the wheel on the one side, put one lug nut on, and I knew that I was done with that side. I never, ever, in my entire career, left a lug nut loose on a customer's car or a bolt loose that was something dangerous. And the reason why? Simple thing like that. You touch it in your mind, you're saying done, tight, fixed. All right, cool. Let's go and fill this thing up now. All right, guys, so the fill part of this, different than our cars. First time I tried to check this fluid, I didn't realize you had to unscrew this to take the O-ring inside and contract it, and I couldn't pull the dipstick out. Just different stuff. Cars are a little different. And I dumped all the fluid into my 5-gallon bucket and just about filled it. It's about 4 inches down maybe from the top. So I'm definitely going to be a quart or probably a gallon short. And I am using the funnel that I used for my engine oil, but I cleaned it out with brake clean. You want to make sure your funnel is clean. I have no problem dumping all 4 of these gallons in. There might be, in some circumstances, I'm trying to think of when rebuilding automatics that you maybe don't want to put the full capacity in without starting it first. That comes to mind. Not the case here. The torque converter and everything else inside of this transmission still had fluid in it, so when you have a completely empty transmission, I don't know if it's necessarily a problem to have the sump filled with too much fluid. Let's say, for example, the transmission holds, you know, in this case holds 20 quarts. Maybe initial fill, I think it said 26 quarts maybe. So if you had rebuilt this, it might be wise of you to put maybe 3/4 of the fluid in, then start it, let the sump and the pump pick up from the oil pan from the sump area and pump the fluid where it needs to go, then shut it off and then fill it up the rest of the way. That was a standard practice. I'm not so sure for this Allison it would be like that. And I do know I'm comfortable, put it this way, I'm comfortable with what I'm doing right now to just put all 4 gallons in. And again, I'm gonna be short. So I'll have 1 gallon of a different fluid, but it is acceptable. And that's directly from Allison. And it was really the same price. This company that I went through, this RVChassisParts.com, they actually had the best price on the Transcend fluid. I think I paid around maybe $44 a gallon, $43 a gallon or something like that. So I was real pleased, and it came very fast. I just went UPS ground and I got it in 2 days. I got the complete order in like 2 days, so just wish that I would have done my math better. I would have bought a 5th gallon of this Transcend fluid. Again, I'm not a chemist though, and I'm comfortable with the other fluid that I'm using, mainly because of Allison's website saying it was okay to use that fluid. You know, in the time that this owner's manual was written, in 2001, you know, that other fluid maybe didn't even exist then. So that's potentially why there was no mention of any other fluids in the owner's manual. And I read somewhere this Transcend fluid is actually made by castor oil. I think there's a castor oil tag on here somewhere, but I couldn't find it anywhere. Even when you punch in Transcend fluid, like say on Amazon, it pulls up the other fluid that I bought, and that's where I got it. It was around the same price. It was like $46 a gallon or something like that. So this RVChassisParts.com, that's the only place that I was able to actually find the Transcend fluid. Well, this is going a lot smoother than the oil did. I had a real hard time with the engine oil. You guys can watch that video too, it'll be up. Just getting the fluid back in. I just didn't have the right funnel. Alright, 4 gallons is enough for me to start this and run it through the gears and then shut it down. I don't know if I'll necessarily you know, check it on the stick without getting some more fluid first, but I'm gonna start it, we'll run it through the gears, and I don't know, we'll see where it puts us. Well, it looks like maybe I'm only about a quart short, so I estimated this bucket to be 5 gallons, and after dumping all of the used oil back into the new containers that were now empty so I can dispose of it later, that's all that's left. So yeah, it looks like maybe I'm only down about a quart. We'll see. Let's run it. One last thing, very important before I start this, just eyeball the work you did. Make sure there's no leaks. It looks good. Let's go start it and we'll come back and look one more time. Now I have my leveling jacks down right now, so shifting it through the gears, probably not a great idea. I don't want it to move at all. So what I'll do is I need to shift it into drive and then into reverse. Well, I do have my parking brakes on. It's not going to go anywhere. I'll step on the brake and do it. It should be okay. It's probably going to warn me that my jacks are down as soon as I put this in gear. Okay. I would think it would warn me. It didn't. I can hear the RPMs changing, so that means it is going into gear. You know what's cool too, guys, is I can actually check my fluid level on this keypad. There's a certain sequence you go through and it will actually tell you your fluid level, but it has to be warm to do it. Alright, that's good enough for checking our level. Let's go back and take a look, and then we'll add the how to check your fluid level here in this video as well. Not even on the stick yet, guys. I think this is interesting. says on the stick. It says use Dextron 3. I'm not going to be able to show you guys the fluid level check on here because my temperature is too low. I've had it running now for maybe 20 minutes or longer, and this trans fluid temp is just not going to get up. It has to be past 140 degrees to do the test. The test is you hold both the up down arrows at the same time, and then it goes through some coding for you. You see it says OL-7, that L7, that's actually 70, OL70. Look at the book. It's oil level, by the way. The OL represents fluid oil level check mode is what it says at the top of this page. But there you go, OL70. It says sump fluid temp too low. So I can't do the oil level check unless it's warm. And what it would show is if the fluid's low, it says, I'll just read this to you guys in case you don't have this manual. So your low fluid level OL is displayed. OL represents fluid oil level check mode, followed by low represents low oil level, and then the number of quarts the transmission fluid is low. Example, a 2 after low, so it would be OL, then low, and then 2 would indicate that we're 2 quarts low. Okay, high fluid level is there as well. It says OL is displayed, fluid oil level followed by a high oil level, and then it tells you how much it is overfilled. An invalid display says what? Oh, system malfunction. OL followed by a numerical, followed by a dash, and a numerical display. The numerical display is a fault code. Okay, so that's how we get codes out of this. And so we'll do more with this later, guys, as far as fault code diagnosis goes. But for now, that's good enough for your fluid level. And I know I'm low, and it needs to be warmer for me to do the check. All right, so there's not much I can do as far as the fluid level here. I know I'm low. I have some fluid ordered. It should be here tomorrow to finish this up. But that's pretty much it, guys. Make sure when you're checking your fluid that you really want to do it with the transmission warmed up. There is a cold level on that stick. I found it interesting that it said Dextron 3 on the dipstick itself. That was contradictory to anything that I read. I did read something somewhere about Dextron 3, so you guys can, definitely chime in here in the comment section. I'd be curious to hear what some of you diesel guys think about using a Dextron 3 in an Allison transmission like this. But yeah, thanks for joining me, and if you have any questions or comments, post them in this video. I'll do my best to answer them as quickly as possible. Thanks, guys. I'll catch you next time.